Hi grade 9s, today I'm going to be working through your cycle test from last week, and essentially this is a worked memo / review of your test. So if we look at the first question, just a few changes. This was actually out of 53 marks, okay? So I'll show you exactly how to complete the test, as well as where the marks were allocated, and if there are any queries, please don't hesitate to go to your teacher and let them know that changes need to be made. If we look at the first question, they tell you all the information is provided for Rugby Inc. for June 2021. They tell you that Rugby Inc. uses a profit markup of 20% for all cash and credit sales, and that you need to round off any calculations to the nearest rand. You need to complete the CRJ, CPJ, and DJ and do not total them, as well as completing the debtors ledgers for J. Dweber and M. Marks. Okay, so if we go through and we have a look at the following transactions in red go into the CPJ, and transactions in orange go into the CRJ. The transactions that I've left blank, you'll see that I've written next to them where they go. So on the 4th, we've got a transaction that goes to the DJ and the debtors ledger, as well as the remaining, which you will see. Okay. We then have our CRJ. So if we go straight into it, and I'll go journal by journal here, we go on the 1st, we receive a direct deposit of 20,000 Rand from the owner, S. Khaleesi, towards his capital contribution. So we start off, and because it's a direct deposit, we start off with a bank statement. The date was the 1st. The owner, S. Khaleesi, is paying us. Okay. We leave analysis of receipts blank. Okay. Because it was a direct deposit, we then have 20,000 Rand under bank. And there's no capital column, so we have 20,000 under sundry accounts, and our detail there was capital. All right, I will go in and put the ticks in right at the end. Okay, the next transaction that we have in our CRJ is also on the 1st, and we have sales according to the cash register roll at 3,250 Rand. When we have sales, they tell us it was a cash register roll. Our detail was sales. Okay, our analysis of receipts is 3,250 Rand, which goes under bank and sales respectively. We then need to work out our cost of sales, and this was 2,708 Rand if you round it off correctly. Okay, you take your 3,250 Rand and you divide it by 1.2 because of our 20% markup, and if you round it off, that gives us 2,708 Rand. Okay, we then go on the 6th, where we issue receipt number 8 to M. Marks for full repayment of their account. Okay, so on the 6th, we have receipt number 8. Okay, M. Marks is paying us. Right, he is debtor number 2. Okay, they don't give us that information, but if we go down, we can see that he's debtor number 2 in his debtor's ledger. So he repays us what he owes us, and that would be 2,640 Rand. That goes under analysis. 2,640, that goes under bank. And when a debtor repays us, we use the debtors control column, 2,640 Rand under the debtors control column. Okay, we then can move straight to his ledger, and on the 6th, we have receipt number 8 from our CRJ. Remember, debtors are an asset that increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. Okay, he's paying us back, so he owes us less money now. We then credit his account, and his new balance will be 0. All right. Our next CRJ transaction is then on the 7th, where we issue a receipt to J. Dweber, who's debtor 1, for part payment of their account of 940 Rand. So on the 7th, we issue a receipt. The next receipt is receipt number 9 to J. Dweber. Okay, they tell us he's debtor 1 and he's paying 940 Rand. So we hit the analysis column, the bank column, and a repayment goes under the debtors control column. Right, if we go up and we have a look, the next CRJ transaction is on the 11th, where we receive rent from a tenant C. Colby of 11,400 Rand. So on the 11th, and before we do that, sorry, I'm forgetting to do J. Dweber's debtors ledger. On the 7th, we have receipt number 9. Okay, from our CRJ, he is paying us back a portion of what he owes us, so we credit his account with 940 Rand, and sorry, there's a reason why I want to go journal by journal, is because J. Dweber purchases from us beforehand, so please forget that. Right, our next transaction in the CRJ was Cheslin Colby, receipt number 10 for rent received. Okay, C. Colby is paying us. Okay, he's not a debtor, he does not owe us any money, so we leave the folio column blank. He's paying us 11,400 Rand, which goes under analysis, bank, and there's no rent income column, so we have our detail, rent income. All right. On the 20th, we issue a receipt to J. Dweber for full settlement of his account to date. That we work out as we go, so we'll come back to that one. If we put it into our CRJ so far, we on the 11th, or receipt number 11, sorry, J. Dweber is paying us, who is D2, and we shall work out that amount. If we go to J. Dweber's account, okay, we see that we sell stock to him on the 4th, and we issue invoice number 6. So we can go into our debtors journal. On the 4th, our doc number is invoice number 6. J. Dweber is paying us, or is buying from us on credit rather. Our folio, he is D number 1, and they tell us sales was 6,500. We divide it by 1.2 and we get 5,417 Rand as our cost of sales figure. We then need to go to his debtors ledger. On the 4th, we have invoice number 6. Okay, he's purchasing from us for 6,500 Rand. So we debit his account and we add that to his balance. So what he owes us currently is 7,950 Rand. Earlier then, on the 7th, with receipt number 9, sorry, our folio there was the DJ, and now from the CRJ with receipt number 9, he pays us back 940 Rand, which means his balance to date is 7,010 Rand. Now we're back on the 20th, and he has paid his full account to date, which was 7,010 Rand, which we worked out now in his debtors ledger. We stick in 7,010 under bank, and when a debtor repays us, we use the debtors control column, 7,010 Rand there. Okay, our last transaction in the CRJ was on the 22nd. Our cash sales for the day are 3,400 Rand. So we start off with our CRR, the date was the 22nd, and our detail was sales. Okay, they tell us it was 3,400 Rand, so we hit analysis, we hit bank, and we hit the sales column, and we then need to work out our cost of sales. We divide that by 1.2, and that gives us 2,833 Rand when rounded off correctly. So that is the CRJ done and dusted. The marks in the CRJ come from 1 mark for our bank statement. We leave analysis blank, 20,000 and capital. Okay, we then have 1 mark next to sales, 2 marks for 2,708 Rand under cost of sales because we had to work that figure out. We then have a mark each for our debtors control amounts, a mark under sundry for 11,400 and rent income respectively, 2 marks for 7,010 Rand because we needed to work that figure out and find it from the debtors ledger, 1 mark for our debtors control amount, 1 mark for 3,400 Rand under sales, 2 marks for 2,833 Rand, and for having your correct folios, which was D2, D1, and D1. Sorry, this is meant to be D1. We then have a total of 18 marks in the CRJ. Okay, we then get to our red transactions, our CPJ transactions, and that's where we make our cash payments. So I'm not going to show you this whole entire page as I go through. I'll just recall it. So the first transaction that we have is on the 6th. Okay, we are purchasing, so we use a bank statement. Remember, there's no checks anymore. We are buying from Biggers Bicycles. And the amount that we're purchasing was for 1,250 Rand. You'll see that on your answer sheet, there should be a drawings column. Okay, so I'm using an old one. The drawings column, okay, should have 1,250 Rand underneath. Okay, we then on the 7th purchase from O'Farrell. Okay, remember our source document, there's a bank statement. We are purchasing 2 things from O'Farrell, 9,500 Rand for trading stock and 4,200 Rand worth of equipment. We don't have an equipment column, so we go across to sundry and we have our detail equipment. Okay, we add those 2 up and we bank a total of 13,700 Rand. That is what we are purchasing from O'Farrell. We then on the 11th purchase from C Laws. Okay, what are we purchasing? They tell us we purchase goods. Goods is the same as trading stock, 6,260 Rand under bank and under the trading stock columns respectively. If we have a look at where marks were allocated there, 1 mark for having all 3 of your source documents as bank statements, 1 mark for our drawings, 2 marks for adding up our 9,500 Rand and 4,200 Rand to get 13,700, 1 mark under trading stock, 1 mark for our 4,200 Rand and equipment, and then another mark for our trading stock of 6,260, leaving 8 marks in our CPJ. We then get to our debtors journal, our blanket transactions. So we've done the first one where we sold stock to Jade Weber, and we've done that in his debtors ledger already. We've then need to look at the transaction on the 22nd, okay, where we sell to Malcolm Marks on credit for 1,140 Rand. So the date is the, let me just get a black pen again, sorry. The date was the 22nd with invoice number 7 to M Marks who's debtor number 2, and he's purchasing 1,140 Rand worth of goods. We have to work out our cost of sales, which once divided by 1.2 gives us 950. Okay, on the 27th, we sell some more to M Marks using invoice number 8. Right, our detail is who we're selling to, Malcolm Marks, who's debtor number 2, and the amount we're selling to him there. They give us the cost price of the goods at 2,150 Rand. We multiply by 1.2 to then get 2,580 Rand. Okay, if we have a look there, you get a mark for having 3 correct invoice numbers 6, 7, and 8, 3 correct folio numbers D1, D2, and D2, 1 mark for our selling price to Jade Weber, 2 marks if you round off correctly for the cost of sales, 1 mark for Malcolm Marks, 2 marks if you've divided correctly to get our cost of sales figure, and lastly 2 marks for multiplying to get our correct sales figure, and 1 mark for the cost of sales that they gave us, giving us a total of 11 marks for our DJ. Okay. If we come back to Jade Weber's account, on the 20th, Jade Weber paid us back his account to date, which we had to work out. So we put in our date, and again, Mr. Pather, get a black pen, on the 20th with receipt number 11 from the CRJ. Jade Weber pays us 7,010 Rand, so he owes us less money, leaving him with a new balance of 0. Okay. We then need to tie up Malcolm Marks's account, and he makes 2 purchases from us, one on the 22nd and one on the 27th, with invoice 7 and invoice 8 respectively. Okay, both of these transactions came from the DJ, and both amounts get debited. He now owes us more money. The first amount was 1,440. We add that to his outstanding balance of 0, which leaves him a new balance of 1,140. We then have our 2,580 that we had to work out, and again we add that to his outstanding balance of 3,720 Rand. The marks in the debtors' ledgers were allocated as follows: 1 mark for your balance in Jade Weber's account, your 2 correct invoice numbers or invoice and receipt numbers respectively. Having your correct folio column, you get a mark. For debiting 6,500, you get a mark, and crediting 940 and 710 respectively, you get a mark, and a correct balance of 0, you get a mark, leaving us with 9 marks for Jade Weber's debtors ledger. We then have our marks as follows in Malcolm Marks's debtors ledger: 1 mark for the correct balance. Because he's settling his accounts in full, if you do the correct amount, it was 2,640, and you credit that, you get 2 marks. 1 mark for debiting 1,140, and 2 marks for debiting 2,580, because we had to work out that figure, leaving him with a new balance of 3,720 Rand. Our 7 marks for Malcolm Marks's debtors ledger, leaving us with a total of 53 marks in question 1. Okay, we then need to move on to question 2, which was our our general ledger. They tell us the total from the journals of Olympic traders for July 2021 are given. Post them to the general ledger on the 31st of July 2021, and they tell you in bold to balance the accounts. So there must be some marks, allocated to that. To start off, I've posted these balances already in our journal. If we go down and we have a look, in our ledger, they then give us the totals for the journals. They use a 25% markup for all cash transactions. and they use a 30% markup for all credit transactions. So you need to then work out our cost of sales in our cash receipts journal and cash payments journal. To do our cash receipts journal, we take 5,600 or 56,400. We then divide that by 1.25, and that should give us a cost of sales figure in the CRJ of 45,120. In our DJ, we take 18,250, and we divide that by 1.3, a 30% markup, and that should leave us with 14,038 when rounded off correctly. Okay, so if we go in and start with the trading stock account. Okay, trading stock is an asset that increases on the debit side and decreases on the credit side. Now, the way trading stock increases is we purchase more trading stock and we look at our CPJ. You'll see we also needed to work out the trading stock amount for it. If we take our 74,020 from bank, we subtract our 8,600 Rand for wages, and we subtract our sundry amounts, it should leave us with a trading stock figure of 42,420 Rand. Okay, so we start off increasing trading stock by purchasing more. Our contra account when purchasing trading stock is bank. We get that from the CPJ, and we've just worked out the amount at 42,420 Rand. Okay, we then have trading stock decreasing. Now, the way trading stock decreases is by us selling it. So on July 31st, we make two types of sales. From the CRJ, we have our cash sales, and from the DJ, we have our credit sales. Now, our contra account for trading stock is cost of sales, so we can put that in for both of them. We've just worked out the cost of sales figures from each of these journals. From our cash receipts journal, it was 45,120 Rand. From our debtors journal, it was 14,038 Rand, and we now need to balance this account. Okay, if we look at the two, our debit side is bigger. We add up our balance and bank to give us 70,760 Rand. We then drag that figure across, okay, to work out our balance carried down. So we have our 70,760. We then need to subtract our stock sold for cash and our stock sold for credit, and that leaves us with 11,602 Rand worth of stock that we have available to sell at the beginning of next month. We put that in as our balance carried down, and at the start of August the 1st, our balance brought down is 11,602 Rand. Okay, the marks in this account came from putting in your balance correctly, working out your trading stock figure correctly, having cost of sales 2 times as our contra accounts, double marks for these amounts as we had to work them out, 1 mark for pulling your correct total across, 1 mark for the correct balance, and because you've balanced it on the 1st of August, you have another mark, which leaves us with a total of 11 marks for our trading stock account. Okay, we then move to debtors control. Right, again, debtors control is an asset that increases on the debit side, decreases on the credit side. Now, in order for debtors control to increase, people would need to owe us more money. So our debtors purchase from us, or we sell to them on credit. Our contra account there is sales. From the debtors journal, where we record all of our credit sales. And if we go up and we have a look, the total of the sales made in the debtors journal was 250 Rand. Now, when debtors pay us back, it decreases debtors control. So on July the 31st, our contra account there is bank from the CRJ, because we've actually received that. And if we go and look at our debtors control amount, we see it's 19,400 Rand. So we stick in our 19,400. Okay. Again, we need to balance the accounts. The larger of the two sides is our debit side. So we add up our balance and our sales figure, which gives us 34,250 Rand. We then pull that figure across so we can work out what is outstanding to us, or how much our debtors still owe us. We take across our 34,250. We subtract our 19,400, which leaves us with 14,850, and that is our balance carried down. Okay, on August the 1st, our balance brought down is 14,850 Rand, which means collectively our debtors still owe us 14,850 Rand. If we have a look at where marks are allocated, you get 1 mark for putting in your balance correctly, 1 mark for carrying through your sales figure from the DJ, another mark for carrying through your debtors control column from the CRJ, people paying us back, and for pulling our correct balances across, you get another mark, leaving us with 5 marks for our debtors control account. We then end off with 2 nominal accounts, both of which are incomes. Okay, remember in the nominal account section, we only use one side. Okay, incomes increase on the credit side, thus we only use the nominal account section. We start off with sales. Now again, we make 2 types of sales. The first, we use the contra account bank because they are cash sales from the CRJ, and that total was 56,400. We then have debtors control, which is our credit sales from the DJ, and that amount was 18,250 Rand. All that is left to do here is to total it up, which should leave us with 126,750 Rand. Marks were allocated in the sales account for having the word total as opposed to balance, our contra account bank and our contra account debtors control for our cash and credit sales respectively. Pulling the correct amounts through for each of these figures and having the correct balance, and lastly our correct folios, brought down, CRJ and DJ. Okay, leaving us a total of 8 marks in our sales account. Okay, our last one was a rent income. If we go to our CRJ, they tell us that rent income was on the 13th. It was in the sundry accounts column, so it does not have its own column. We use its own date. The contra account there was bank. We are actually receiving that money in our CRJ, and the rent income for that month was 4,500 Rand. We then need to total it up, and it should leave us with 8,280 Rand. Okay, our marks were for pulling through our correct figures, leaving us a total of 3 marks in our rent income account, meaning that question 2 was in actual fact out of 27. Okay, guys, that is our test review done and dusted. Please make sure you go over it, and I will just leave these up for a little while just so you can take screenshots if you'd like. Alright, and then like I said at the beginning of the video, if you do have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to contact your teacher or ask your teacher in class why you did or did not get a mark. Okay, have a super day.